It's not like my neighbor Tammy, she can look at something, she's like, oh yeah, that's that. Really? Anyway, only cool people see that stuff. Mark was born cool. On this day, August 13th in 1959, he was the second son to our parents, the other Mary Jane Hopkins. And the only reason I was probably ever born was because they had two boys before me, right? As you can see in the pictures, he was cute and chunky, and he was most everybody's favorite. He was Grandma Thompson's favorite for sure, out of the three of us. And probably Mom's, and definitely Jim and my favorite sibling. Right, Jim? He was a classic middle kid. He got along with most everybody, most all the time. And he followed Jim wherever he could when he was little and growing up, and I followed him wherever I could. So it's all Jim's fault. He was doing just fine. We were all, just living regular, simple, back in the 60s kind of lives. And once he got into grade school, my mom and dad realized he was having some trouble passing his grades. And he had to repeat a couple. By the time he got in the third grade, he had a teacher named Miss Hearn. She was not the sweetest teacher in the world. And Mark was getting in trouble a lot for just not doing his work and looking out the window and stuff like that. So one day he brings home a math paper. I think it was just 2-digit adding and subtracting. And my mom, it's got a big fat F on it, and my mom noticed that all of the addition and subtraction was correct. So she went back to the school and she asked Ms. Hearn, why did he get an F? And she says, well, he copied all the numbers backwards off the board. He's just being a smart aleck. So she was putting him in the corner, treating him like a dunce, or a smart aleck, or a class cutout. And my mom started reading and calling everybody, and she called Uncle Richard down from Ohio to test him, and whatever kind of test. I saw ink blots for the first time, because Richard's a psychologist. But ended up, Mark was dyslexic. So the reason he's, having a hard time reading is because he's seeing things backwards. The reason he's writing the numbers backwards, he was just seeing it that way, and he had to start going to a reading tutor to learn how to get by that and learn how to be able to get through school. So he probably during that time, I'm thinking, is when he started connecting with Charlie Brown. Of course, we loved the Charlie Brown specials growing up, but he ended up with a little doll, a little Charlie Brown doll. Jim had Snoopy, and I don't know, through life, Mark, he ends up painting a lot of Charlie Brown paintings and stuff like that. I think he connected with him a lot. Just feeling like the outsider, and probably all his teachers, or most of his teachers, sounded like womp, 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 all that stuff. Yeah, so it's also, he was doing a lot of looking out the window and drawing, and so of course our mom was a painter and an artist, and she encouraged all of us to do that, so we were all doodling a lot, but he did it a lot. And the other side of that is when he did figure out how to read what he read everything he wanted to read. And, he had He had bookshelves in his living room and slam packed full of books, things that he was interested in. And when he read something, he remembered it. I never had any problem reading, but I don't retain stuff, information like he did. I think it was so hard for him that when he spent the time to do it, he committed it to memory so he wouldn't have to go through that chore again. And so you could call on him to remind you of anything and everything, including everything anybody ever said or did. He just remembered it all. The other thing about going to the reading tutor was Mom would want to reward him. She had to figure out a reward system that didn't cost her any money because she was really, really tight. She needed to be, but she was really, really tight. So she decided that they would do treasure hunting on the way back from the tutor. He went, I think, once a week in elementary school. And on the way back to school, they'd get to pick a trash pile. That was the reward if he did well at the tutors. They'd get to pick a trash pile. And she would encourage him to look for sterling silver because back in the day, people would throw sterling bracelets away and stuff. And I think that's probably part of what initiated his treasure hunting that he did for the rest of his life. He hunted arrowheads from the time he was very young all the way through life. He loved going to his favorite beaches because he could relax and, get stress relief walking the beaches and looking for arrowheads and colonial pottery. And he also liked going to thrift stores and flea markets and looking for stuff. His interest broadened, and he just he was collecting vintage pottery and dishes, and everything in his house had to be vintage or it wasn't any good. If it wasn't 50 years old, it just wasn't any good. And he was in his tracks about that. Couldn't convince him otherwise, really. He also, as a kid, he liked adventures, like most boys. He liked fishing and camping and riding motorcycles. His friends' motorcycles, we didn't have any, but we had, Mark and Jim had a couple friends that had dirt bikes, and they'd go over there and do that. And he was in the Boy Scouts, and I think he liked the Boy Scouts because that was the okay way to play with knives and fire. Typical boy stuff. He went away. We thought he was so lucky to have to get to go to Oakland Farm summer camp in the summers, but that was another learning camp for LD kids, and they also helped him with the dyslexia, but he also got to ride horses there and go swimming and camping, and he met some really good friends there, and got introduced to a whole other world of people that we didn't have in our immediate neighborhood. And he developed those relationships, that was something else about Mark. You guys all know, if he ever met you, whenever he met you, that was just the beginning of a lifelong relationship, right? The people that he met when he was a little kid are 99.9% still his very dear friends, and he was really good about staying in contact with a lot of people too. Let's see.